Hey, HTDA, and today we're playing some more Mindustry, and this time around we're going to invade a biomass synthesis facility, apparently. And we're launching from the ruinous shore, so that's nice, because I have a lot of materials there, so we can bring pretty much enough to build an entire base. At least that's what I'm hoping. And there we go. Now I'm hoping that this new zone is as pretty as the previous one. It's a little bit colder at least, so let's pause and see what we have to work with. What I think is a nice element about the technology tree is that you can actually look up the levels and you can see what the level progression is intended to be. So once we completed the frozen forest, we opened up the craters, we've completed that. We also did the fungal pass and the ruinous shores, but we skipped the biomass synthesis facility initially, and that seems to be on par with some of the levels we've already done. So it makes sense to continue this chain before we head back down to this one. Now, we are supposed to cultivate spores here for the production of fuel and plastics. The only problem is I don't actually see any of that in this particular research tree, so we're going to have to look around to see what we need to do. Well, at least we know where the enemy is coming from now. It's going to be up north here, and that means that defending against the ground units is going to be fairly trivial, I think. We either set up right next to where they spawn, but we don't really have a lot of resources to work with, honestly. And we only have some lead and some copper. So, well, then again, we can just set up a supply line. That's not really a problem. Air units, however, are definitely going to be a problem because they'll just likely fly over from over here to our main base. So we're going to have to set up some air defense to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, so first things first, I set up some copper production over here, some graphite production over here, and some lead production over here, along with some of those scatter towers, so in case any airships fly over, at least we have some basic defense going on. Now, this is all I'm going to do for now over here, because I want to start focusing on getting some units up and running. Now, strangely enough, in the ruin over here, there are some unit production facilities, but they are nowhere near where the silicon is going to come from, because the only patch of sand we have is in this corner over here. So it makes sense to make the silicon here, and then, well, if you're making the silicon here anyway, you might as well do the unit production here as well. And I realize this is a little bit of a time jump, but I basically just set up some lead production over here, some coal here and here to make, with the addition of the sand that we have in here, some silicon. And then, of course, in order to make that silicon, we need sand. And there is a pool of water in the middle of the sand, hence all of these pumps, because all of these pumps are going to have to boost pretty much all my miners everywhere, because this is the only water. I think, actually, no, we have some other water on the map as well. So anyway, might be overutilizing this particular water in that case, but still we are producing some silicon over here. I also tapped into this coal patch over here so we can start making some graphite, and as you can see, I am trying to boost all of that with water as well, just to maximize the output. Now, with all of that, we are producing the lead and the silicon that we need for the daggers, and then we can also start upgrading those daggers with the addition of graphite coming from the south. So that should allow me to make the tier 1 and 2 dagger and mace units. And of course, that's not going to be all that we want to make, but for now, it's a good start. And while I'm waiting for those first few units to be produced, I might as well just set up some basic defenses with some duos. We have some copper over here. This is not going to do much, but yeah, at least the initial defense is going to be covered by them. It's a little bit annoying that the bot wants to prioritize everything except for the actual turrets, but manually clicking gets the job done as well. And in the meanwhile, we've also built these walls, so with 10 seconds to spare, that should give us some basic defense at least. Now, I'll be honest, I'm fully expecting, for whatever reasons, like 5 flying units to spawn to rush my base, and then we can start all over again. I think we should be fine. Yeah, it's just a couple of those basic deconstructing units, blowing up units. There we go. That was everything that we didn't need to worry about, honestly. Why are you guys not moving where I wanted you to move? Oh, that's because I set the rally point in a place you couldn't reach. Okay, fine. You move over there, and look at that. That's the first 3 defense units we have to go. And once the additional silicon gets in, we should have some tier 2 units to go along with those. Now, given that we've seen the flying units come across in different levels already, I might be a little bit paranoid, but again, why not just add a couple of scatters to here, just so we can barrage them as soon as they start moving anywhere that is not the front line. That brings me back to the other question again. You can't actually go where you need it to because I suck at setting the rally points, apparently. I'm not entirely sure what to do in this level. I mean, obviously we're here to do something with biomass, but I don't actually see it anywhere on the map, or am I just missing it completely? I probably am, but some tutorial pop-up would have been nice. Oh well, first things first, let's reinforce the front line a little bit with some power towers, some arc towers I mean, and some basic walls as well. We have plenty of actual units over here, so I think those by themselves could probably fend off most of the enemy, but yeah, these additional towers and menders should make that a lot easier as well. Of course, we do need to actually connect the power up, but I was using some of this coal to build up some surplus power, and if I'm not mistaken, we should have, yeah, we have about 1.5k surplus. It's going up and down a little bit, but it's close enough, and it's definitely enough to fuel all of these arc towers over here, along with some batteries. I'm also going to use some of that copper to boost the production of this basic copper facility, so we have the additional copper flowing in that we kind of need. Yeah, what else to do here other than just build some more units, I guess. Okay, so this additional setup should be able to produce the flares and the horizons, and I am probably going to need a lot more silicon than what I'm currently getting now. Speaking of which, why is this not doing what it is? That explains why I'm not getting enough of that. There you go. That should definitely help increase the output of my silicon. There we go. Oh man, okay, well anyway, it's not the end of the world, but oh, well, we got a wave, but it was destroyed before I could actually get over there. But this should definitely help me get some production up and running. We're already capped out on the tier 1 units for the daggers. The maces are, yeah, bottlenecked on silicon, but all of that should be kicking into gear pretty soon. Well, in that case, while we're at it, did we find the location of the spores yet? Nope. I am now starting to wonder if I should have like used the buildings that were here. We haven't been able to do that so far. At least not the ones that we couldn't repair. So yeah, I'm really confused. I'm pretty sure that the cultivator buildings, I believe that was what they were called, were actually still derelict, so we couldn't use them. But you're probably at this point spamming in the comment that I made some silly mistake. Anyway, while I'm at it, I figured if any air unit wants to get through here, it's gonna have a bad time. I had space, so I figured why not put some turrets in it. And I also put a ridiculous amount of arc turrets here, mostly because I can, and I have the power to spare anyway. The battery pack over here is supposed to get the power supply going when I need it and when the waves are coming in. Now, with all of that sorted, what's next? We have some more resources on the map. I need some more silicon, mostly, so let's keep working on that. And since based on the layout of the map, you can just expect another wave to come at some point from over here later on, I might as well start building some defenses while I'm waiting for the other waves. In order to do that, I decided why not just add some more power to the mix as well. We had some water over here, we have some coal over here, so that works just fine. Assuming, of course, I actually connect all the belts. There we go. And yeah, I'm just gonna set up a very similar defense like we have over here, but then in the corner over here, trying to make sure that it doesn't get automatically destroyed once the waves spawn. Okay, and there we go. We have almost an identical setup that we have over here, but now in this corner over there. Now this is, I think, a little less effective than this one, mostly because it has the smaller version of the wall, but I don't know exactly where the spawn zone is, so this might be completely useless to begin with, but yeah, anyway, it's going to be somewhat useful, I hope, at least. We still have 9 waves to go. We have a nice little army sitting over here. We have both the tier 1 and tier 2 ground units of both types, so we've got those covered. I didn't build the second tier or first tier kind of like utility flying units that help me out, because honestly I don't really need them at the moment. I could build them as well, I guess, but yeah, why not? Well, considering some of my walls were actually getting destroyed, it's a good thing we now have our first polys in, so they can start repairing walls in case any of them get damaged. We are also producing some of those monos. Not sure where they are. Look, they're mining some lead for me. That is nice. Okay, so nothing else to do, I guess, then just mine the entire zone and get as much resources as we can to our home base over here. Alright, I built myself a couple of kilns, so we have some metal glass flowing in as well. Why are you not doing anything? You're not getting any sand. Oh, why are you not getting any sand? Because for some reason you offloaded something. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. There we go. That should fix that. We have some overflow production in terms of graphite and things like that going into the main base as well. I should probably do the same thing for the silicon, but we have the last wave coming in about 2 seconds. That should be a boss, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it's a whole bunch of bosses. That's a lot more units than I've seen in the entire level so far. The anti-air, I think, should do its work. Yep. And zoom. That was the entire boss. Now, maybe we unlock something new in the technology tree now. I think you are new. Look, there's the cultivator. It's a little weird that you get it at the end of the level, while the level suggests that you get it in the level. At least, it might just be me, but that's how I read it anyway. But we have a new building. What does it do? I have no idea. Where is it? It's over here. Let me see. Okay. Cultivates tiny concentrations of atmospheric spores into spore pods. Nice. It needs water, and then out pop those pods. Well, let's do that. Okay, well, these things need a metric ton of water, but we have plenty of that to go around, so now I am producing a lot of spore pods. The real question is, what can I do with those? And it seems that the answer lies in the spore press over here. That is going to take those spore pods and turn them into oil. That's actually interesting. It's a lot of oil as well. So 3 spore pods per second is going to turn into 18 oil per second. That's a lot of oil. And one of these cultivators is producing 0.6 spore pods per second. So that means with 5 of these, we can fuel 1 press. Now, let's see. We have more than 5 of those actually already. So what we can do is, where is it? Over here, I guess. Yep, there we go. There we go. And then I don't think we actually need those spore pods to go into our main base. So I should probably have this be an underflow gate, just in case we have surplus, then we might as well store them up. But other than that, there's not much point in using them. It is now producing oil, and the real question is, what can we use the oil for? Well, my first guess was that it was going to provide us with power in the combustion generator, but it seems that although we can burn oil in that, we can actually burn the spore pods in there, as well as the pyrite. I actually completely forgot about that. But the spore pods are, well, if we have water, it's super easy to produce, honestly. And that means that whenever we have water, we can produce a fair amount of power with these. Remember, one of these actually generates, I think it was 0.6 per second, so that's more than 1 combustion generator needs. So it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio, and if we build, what is it, 5 of these, then we can have a 6th generator to go along with that. However, that does cost a massive amount of water, so this only will be viable in areas where we do have that water available. Yeah, let me check what else we can do with the oil. Well, I checked every single building that I already have, and I didn't get any new ones, and it seems that the oil doesn't go into the steam generator either. Where it does go in is the wave tower. You can actually use the oil to knock back your opponents and get them the tart ability, which means that they're now more susceptible to burn and melt, which I guess kind of nicely combines with if you use some more of these wave turrets and you have some slag in there, for example, you can start melting them and throwing some oil onto the fire. I guess that's a nice combination. Not sure if it's worth all the trouble of making oil, but I know, we might want to try it out at some point. For now, it was a lot of fun just to build a nice beefy defense, just completely obliterate the enemy and have some fun building a pretty nice and tight factory. It's not the least spaghetti factory I've ever built, but it's fairly clean, I think, especially considering most of the spaghetti was already here when we got here. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one nonetheless. Next time around, I'm hoping for a little bit more resistance, but still, sometimes it's good to have an easy level as well. If you're still here, you are awesome, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.